I, Khushi Sharma,
And I, Mehal Chaudhary.
are here to resume with the Power Pack Technical Session 3.
After enjoying delicious food, let's tighten our seatbelts for the upcoming technical session based on amendments, and yes, amendments. Any guesses?
Yes, it's direct taxation. So, without any further delays, let's start with the session. I'd like to call on the dais the session chairman, respected CA Chandrasekhar Chitre, treasurer of Pune branch of ICAI Pranav Apte sir, and joint secretary Mr. Yash Khandare, and the paper presenters for this session, Mr. Pranav Kulkarni, Mr. Virendra Singh Tanwar, and Ms. Saloni Mundara.
I feel honored and glad to introduce the esteemed, admired, and recognized personality, a man of refined thought process and sharp vision, none other than C.A. Chandrasekhar Chitle. He is practicing as a chartered accountant and senior partner at CV Chitle and Company. He is a member of Central Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He is chairman at Direct Taxation Committee and vice chairman Banking, Financial Services and Insurance Committee. He was a former chairman of Corporate Laws and Corporate Governance Committee and former vice chairman Committee on Public and Government Financial Management. He had been vice president of Pune Chartered Accounting Society, and he also contributed draft textbooks and written several articles in newspapers and periodicals. He had been a lecturer or visiting faculty at various colleges and delivered several lectures at conferences and meetings of professionals. Thank you.
We request CA Pranav Apte sir to deliver his opening address.
Good afternoon, all. Hope all of you have enjoyed a delicious lunch. So we are back with the technical sessions. So moving on to the next technical session on the direct taxes, we have with us our beloved Central Council member, CA CV Chitale sir, who is also the Direct Tax Committee Chairman and also the session chair. We also would like to thank and congratulate Pune Vikasa team for organizing such a wonderful event and a conference. And we also thank and welcome the vibrant students who are participating in this conference. The direct tax is one of the very core subject, and considering the various recent amendments, maybe in the direct tax laws, various Supreme Court decisions, various upcoming what we can say, the way of doing the business, the methodologies have changed, and the buzzwords like virtual digital assets and faceless era. With this, we have to have the updated knowledge of the recent changes, and we have to keep the pace moving so that we can be with the time and not behind the time. So we welcome all the paper presenters and congratulate them for selecting such a wonderful subjects, which are the most recent ones. And I also like to thank them for participating into the event. So over to the presenters.
Thank you for your words, sir. Now we call our first presenter for this session, Mr. Pranav Kulkarni, on the topic Analysis of Faceless Assessment. Pranav is pursuing his articleship at Ernst & Young LLP Pune. He works closely with technicalities and intricacies of taxation and regulatory advisories and compliances. Apart from academics, he is a sports aficionado, especially badminton, and also an avid reader.
गुड आफ्टरनून एवरीवन। वैसे तो मैं थोडा डरते डरते स्टेज पे चढा हूं, कारण कॉन्फरन्स पुण्यात आहे आणि वेळ आहे 1 ते 4। पण मला हायसं वाटतंय तुम्हाला पाहून की अरे तुम्ही झोपेत नाही आहात, तुमच्यात एनर्जी दिसते. सो लेट्स कंटिन्यू दिस एनर्जी आणि बघूयात आज की व्हॉट इज फेसलेस असेसमेंट स्कीम. आई वुड लाइक टू स्टार्ट विथ अ शेर. अर्ज किया है, कितना भी पकड़ने की कोशिश करो फिसलता जरूर है. कितना भी पकड़ने की कोशिश करो फिसलता जरूर है. ये वक्त है साहब, ये बदलता जरूर है. आज हम इसी बदलाव के बारे में बात करेंगे. वो बदलाव है असेसमेंट स्कीम का. फ्रॉम बीइंग इन पर्सन असेसमेंट टू गोइंग टू फेसलेस. So before diving into the topic, let's understand why the new scheme was introduced. The first thing, we find out that the existing system is not fruitful. There's another way of efficient working. So you get into the new system. Another thing is, the flaws of the earlier system are hindering the progress, the overall achievement or the development of the economy as a whole. The flaws were undue bias, abuse of power, and loss of repute and reputation of revenue. So what do you understand by undue bias is, earlier जब in person assessment होता था, तो जो assessing officer होता था, he used to do out of court settlements. Because of that, there was a lot of loss of revenue and repute to chartered accountants as well as the Department of Revenue, that is CBDT. So इसे tackle करने के लिए उन्होंने faceless assessment निकाला. So what is faceless assessment? The faceless assessment is not an arbitrary decision, but a very planned and a visionary step towards building a judiciary which is free of corruption. There's accountability, there is transparency, and there's efficiency. So faceless assessment center, the main pillars hai, there are no humans involved. It uses maximum amount of, it uses minimum amount of resources and gives out the maximum amount of output. इस दुनिया में कोई भी चीज़ फीचर्स के बिना नहीं बेची जाती. So these are the features of faceless assessment scheme. We will cover them in depth in the ensuing slides. पहले हम स्ट्रक्चर जानते हैं फेसलेस असेसमेंट स्कीम का. इसका कारोबार है ना, थोड़ा रूठा रूठा रहता है. इमेजिन करो आप नए नए कॉलेज में गए हो, आपको एक लड़की पसंद आ गई है एंड आप उससे कुछ बात करना चाहते हो लेकिन आपकी हिम्मत नहीं हो रही है. तो क्या होता है, आपकी कोई सहेली होती है, वो आपके इस मन की इच्छा को पहचानती है, आपका संदेशा वो लेकर वो उस लड़की की तरफ जाती है. तो ऐसी ही हमारी एक सहेली है इस पूरे स्ट्रक्चर में जिसका नाम है नेशनल फेसलेस असेसमेंट सेंटर. सो दिस इज अ सहेली, दिस इज द मेन कम्युनिकेटिंग यूनिट बिटवीन द एसएससी एंड द अदर एक्सिलरी यूनिट्स. नेशनल फेसलेस असेसमेंट सेंटर इज लोकेटेड इन न्यू दिल्ली. उसके नीचे आता है रीजनल फेसलेस असेसमेंट सेंटर. सो एवरी स्टेट हैज़ अ रीजनल फेसलेस असेसमेंट सेंटर and every state's regional faceless assessment center is made up of assessment unit, technical unit, verification unit and review unit. So in units के functions हम अगली slide में depth में जानेंगे. The first is assessment unit. Assessment unit's main function is to assess the income or the loss or the refund of an assessee. जो भी submissions आते हैं, it peruses them, it goes to them, it scrutinizes them, it analyzes them and comes on a conclusion whether additions have to be made, disallowance has to be made, either refund has to be reduced or what not to be done. The second unit is technical unit. The name tells you what it is about. It helps assessment unit with technical specifications or the technical specialization. A lot of times a assessment unit might not have technical superiority in certain matters such as transfer pricing or valuation reports. So it takes help of technical unit in understanding the matter at hand. The third is verification unit. Verification unit verifies whatever documents that have been submitted. Verification unit verifies whether the conduct is in a proper manner. And the most important unit of all is review unit. I call it Ashnir Grover of units. Because कोई भी unit कुछ भी करे, review units asked only one question, that is, भाई क्या कर रहा है तू? it has the most important task, that is to skeptically analyze whatever each unit's function is. So we understood the units of the structure of faceless assessment. So now let's get into how the structure looks like. So there's assessee. The assessee communicates with NFAC. NFAC then communicates with AU. So there is no direct contact between assessee and the assessment unit. उन दोनों को पता भी नहीं है कि वो दोनों कौन है. It's extremely anonymous. Then, assessment unit takes help of review unit, technical unit, and verification unit to conduct its operation smoothly. So, बहुत हो गया ये सब technicalities. अब हम थोड़ा chronology की तरफ ध्यान देते हैं. The first and the foremost thing in an assessment is issuance of notice under section 143(2) of the Act. After issuance of notice, the assessee has a certain period of time to reply to it. If the assessee fails to reply, a show cause notice is issued. If the assessee fails to reply to the show cause notice, then the assessment unit, जो भी उसके पास है, whatever the documents and the reports he has with him on the basis of information he has, he prepares a draft order. And if that draft order, or if the draft, what we can say, the proposal of income or loss is prejudicial to the assessee, then it has to again issue a show cause notice. अगर show cause notice को reply किया जाता है, तो assessee को, अगर show cause notice को reply किया जाता है, तो assessment unit को और data मिलता है. Then on the basis of additional data, the assessment unit takes help of verification unit, review units, and the other units just to understand what all has been given to us. Then the assessment unit gets report from verification units, technical units. फिर वो reports का analysis होता है. And after the analysis of the reports, the assessment unit comes at a conclusion. So after coming to conclusion, again यहाँ पे दो रास्ते हैं. First is to prepare a draft assessment order, or to prepare a proposal of income or loss. Proposal of income or loss is prepared when the additions or the changes to the income of the assessee is prejudicial to his interest. So if the additions or the, what we can say, the conclusions are not prejudicial to the interest of the assessee, then the draft assessment order is made and sent to the assessee. So before sending to the assessee, the draft assessment order first goes to the review unit. So now review unit reviews all the things, all the processes, all the documentation that has gone through it. It checks whether it is judicially correct, all the judicial precedents have been considered while giving this decision. And post considering of this decision, the review unit issues a report to the assessment unit. So now assessment unit receives a report from review unit. It peruses the report. It may act or not act according to the review report. It may choose not to act, but it will have to record the reasons for not acting according to that. So once the review report is done, the draft assessment order is issued to the assessee. Once draft assessment order is received by the assessee has three options. For prima facie, two options. First is, if you have transfer pricing, you can go into DRP, which is a different route. If you have any other objections with the draft assessment order, you may file them. If you don't file the objections within time, or you don't go to DRP, a final assessment order has to be issued, and then you can appeal against that final assessment order again in the CIT. So all in all this procedure takes place without ever, what we can say, without any human contact or actual meeting. Everything takes place through a portal called as e-filing portal. So now what has this eliminated? This has eliminated the, what we can say, the corruption cases out of court settlements, or the biasness which we earlier had, or the system had, which led to the leakages in the revenue, which led to the loss of repute. So इस सब में हम जो stakeholders हैं, हम पे क्या impact आता है? इस पूरे जो structure है, इस जो पूरा procedure है, इसमें 3 stakeholders हैं. The first is professional, that is us. जब पहली बार ये scheme announce हुई थी, at that time there was a lot of hue and cry from professionals because change is hard. But change is inevitable. But with the onset of COVID, with the onset of lockdowns, we got at ease with technology. We were able to cope up with it in a very different manner, and we were able to adopt quickly. So we as a professionals, we are really thankful for this scheme because now we are able to deliver speedy justice and speedy recovery or the speedy judicial processes. The second stakeholder is business. हम काम किसके लिए करते हैं? We work for businesses. So if the result of the case is being delivered within minimum time, then yes, the businesses are going to be happy. And most of the businesses are happy, apart from a few who are engaged in illegal practices. And third is the revenue department. Ours is a developing economy, and for a developing economy to run properly, we need revenue sources. We cannot afford any leakages of revenue. So this step has been a very crucial one in the journey of what we can say the development of our nation. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it a lot. And if there are any questions, you may ask me.
Now it's the time for the next paper presenter, and I would like to call Mr. Virendra Singh Tanwar with the topic whether agriculture income should be taxed. Mr. Virendra Singh Tanwar is a CA finalist and pursuing articleship from Mrs. DKV and Associates in Direct and International Taxation and Valuation Department. He is keen interested in the field of finance and direct taxation. He is an avid reader and enthusiastic explorer and traveler.
Hello friends. Before I introduce myself, let me share with you a thoughtful statement, which is under everyone wants to be a diamond, but not everyone is willing to get cut. Similarly, success is achieved by those who are willing to put that effort and endeavor. So, our chartered accountancy profession not only teaches us their knowledge, but the passion, perseverance, and a hunger to achieve our dreams. Similarly, the qualities to become a true leader have been achieved, gives achievement in this chartered accountancy profession. So, today is our theme, Agnipank, knowing the way, going the way, and showing the way. So, good afternoon, my friends, respected dignitaries, the member of the judiciary, the organizers, and my dear friends. Today, we are going to discuss on the topic whether agricultural income should be taxed in India. Myself, Virendra Singh Tanwar, I am a CA finalist. So, starting with our discussion, in India, talking about the taxation of the agricultural income has always been a matter of debate. India's current level of GDP is around $3.17 trillion in the USD for the financial year 21-22. It is up to the developing nations to find out the new avenues of income and strengthen the current ones. In the current economic survey, it has been found out that agricultural income has contributed around 18.8% of the gross value added. Agriculture is and will always be the prime pulse in the contributing to GDP of India. So, and it will always be at the core of the socio-economic development. India's 58% of the gross population depends on the livelihood on the agricultural sector. Not only this, the other sectors depend on agricultural sector for depend on the agricultural sector due to its backward and forward linkages. Agriculture sector is not only the source of livelihood and food security, but is only and primary source of income for a lot of Indians. In the era of globalization, it is important to note that the agriculture sector should not only serve the domestic demand, but should always contribute towards the global demand. The global demand can be achieved by modernization, constantly exploring the foreign exchange reserves and upgradation and modernization. Upgradation and modernization will not only pave the path to serve the domestic demand, but will shoot the India's GDP to an exceptional level. Agriculture income is and will always be a prime mover in shaping the Indian economy. Now let's move ahead towards knowing the Indian Income Tax Act. Agricultural income is exempt under Section 10, subsection 1 of the Income Tax Act. But Agriculture income is exempt under Section 10, subsection 1 of the Income Tax Act. But the Constitution of India has levied tax on the agricultural income indirectly for the rate purposes. Now let us know the definition of agricultural income. Agricultural income means rent or revenue from the land situated in India, any income from such land by agricultural operations, income from farmhouse which has been used for the dwelling houses, and income from samplings. Now, apportionment of agricultural income is distributed into the taxable and exempt. Currently, the tax on cultivation and income is currently the tax on the cultivation of various crops like tea, coffee, etc. is done on a proportionate basis because they need to undergo a processing for getting market ready. Now let us understand one example: coffee grown and cured, roasted and grounded. The agricultural income attributes towards 60% of the profit, and later is the business income. Moving ahead, we will also discuss capital gain on sale of agricultural land. According to Section 54B of the Indian Income Tax Act, the gain on agricultural land, on sale of agricultural land is exempt, provided it has been used by self or parents for 2 years for agricultural purposes. Now, the same shall exempt from the tax ambit if the following conditions are satisfied. The transferee is an individual or HUF. The transferee has invested the gain amount to purchase a new agricultural land. And secondly, the transferee transfers the gain amount in the capital accounts gain scheme before filing of the due date of the ITR. Now, the million dollar question comes to our mind is whether agricultural income should be taxed. Now, let us discuss. Discussing about the taxation of the agricultural income has always been an interesting topic between the Indians. Now, this topic was reignited in 2019 by the recent report being issued by Comptroller and Auditor General of India. The report states that how agricultural income has been used as a tax evasion scheme, generation of black money, and money laundering practices. The main reason for exempting the agricultural income from tax ambit was to protect the farmers. But this has been used as a tool to evade taxes by the non-agricultural entities by declaring their non-agricultural income as agricultural income. This can be, so plugging these loopholes might mitigate the generation of black money, but this can be meticulously done by taxing the agricultural income. Now, why to tax agricultural income? The recent data being issued by the RBI states that the rural India is out of purview of all personal income taxation. Ideally, there should not be any artificial jurisdiction between rural and urban, and the same tax laws shall be applicable to both the sections. However, the taxing of agricultural income should be just like any other economic activity. Just like individuals and companies are taxed based on their income, the farmers should also be taxed, provided they go beyond the basic exemption limit. Taxation of the agricultural income should not be on the emotion based, but should be the practically based. Agricultural income has been taxed twice in India from 1860 to 1865 and 1969 to 73. There has been no historical reasons why agricultural income has not been taxed. The farmers were taxed heavily in the colonial era, where the produce were taxed and land revenue and producer tax at the extremely high rates. So the government of India actually, the government of India reduced this tax burden and exempted it by coming to the force in 1835. In India, currently 6 states levy taxes on the agricultural income. These are mainly Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Assam, Bihar, West Bengal, and Odisha. So, we'll come to our next point of discussion, why agricultural income is not taxed. There are many reasons, but we'll cut short our discussion to few points. Calculating the income accrued for taxation is a dicey endeavor. The family labor involved in producing the agricultural produce makes it very difficult for bifurcating the taxing the agricultural income. Second one, the second impediment is the lack of accounting awareness and resources between the farmers. Secondly, third point is the cost involved. It is widely believed that the financial resources required to collect tax are in disproportion with the amount of tax collected to the agricultural income. Next one is the breach of Indian federal structure. When the Constitution has clearly provided that it's the state's prerogative to tax the agricultural income, bringing it under the central government's taxation regime would be the injustice and would be against the spirit of federalism. Political objections are that in ancient history, let us go back to ancient history, the colonial era. In the colonial era, the Britishers used to put an unjust taxes on the agriculture on the farmers. In this point of time, if the government of India decides to bring the taxation on the agriculture income, this would backfire at the time of elections, as the wounds are still fresh in the minds of the farmers. And also, the downright rejections by the rich landowners and political influences are the main reason behind not bringing the continued exemption of the agri income. Other factors being the major problem of identifying the individuals, that many of them own a small piece of land and are landless laborers. Also, we'll understand this point through an illustration. Now let us consider if the agricultural income contributes INR 50 lakhs, but the persons contributed to it are more than approximately 40 people. So if we analyze, the per person income goes beyond basic exemption limit. In this case, taxation of agricultural income becomes very difficult, and it will be very ferocious act of taxing the same. Taxation of agricultural income would be interpreted as affecting the lives of 600 million population and can be perceived as a disaster during the elections. Now we'll come towards the suggestions, the why and how can the agriculture income be taxed. In case of large farmers, for exemption can be decided for specific crops, setting up an assumed cost of production to a per unit of agriculture produce, and extrapolating it towards the proper level of income which will merit tax. Taxation of the agricultural income will require something out of the box. Making government of India should make use of the biometric systems and the sale of transaction, biometric impressions for all the sale of transactions in the mandi. This will help the government of India to trace the transactions, record the data, and might develop a tax mechanism for charging the taxation in the future. There might be a loophole in this, like there might be proxy impressions made by the farmers. Like for this can be mitigated by making the registrations mandatory for the farmers. Moving forward, in the developing country, the farming is done in an organized way, but farming is done in an unorganized way. In this scenario, the agricultural produce of the crops are based on the satellite images, which does not portray a true picture. However, in the developed countries, the tax mechanism is very easy, and the taxation and the person contributing to such income can be traced very easily. Once the national agricultural market reaches a reasonable level, since then the government of India can easily trace the person with a high level of transaction, and tax can be deducted at source. Now, the second suggestion would be the cashback offers. The agricultural income should be taxed provided they are the person contributing to it fall under the high net worth criteria. That the high net worth criteria can be defined as the income generated more than 75 lakhs from an agricultural farmer should be taxed at the rate of 10%, and if the individual discloses this income in this return of income, the government of India can give him a cashback offer of 1%. Hence, this can serve a pay of knowing the person and the personal limit and the income actually contributed towards the nation building. Apart from this, the sellers in the mandis are not actually the farmers. They go through an intermediary who sell the crops on their behalf. So actually, the person paying the taxes would not be the farmer, but the intermediary who is going to disburse the tax liability on the farmer's behalf. This identification of the farmer, this identification is very difficult, and hence the government of India must find out the way to tax the same. So we can say that taxation on agricultural income is double-edged sword, where its implementation will increase the national revenue but will hamper the interest of marginal farmers. If it is not brought under the purview of taxation, it will hamper the national revenue by acting as a free pass for the elite and rich farmers. What is necessary in the present state of being is that to strike a balance between these two, the tax slab shall be decided in order to provide the maximum safeguard to the vulnerable sections. A holistic approach shall be made, but a holistic approach to the whole issue shall be taken. Poverty alleviation and social security are allied to the problems for blanket exemption. For the government to consider the taxation on the agricultural income, it is necessary to first bring the stakeholders in a state of paying the taxes. Thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Virendra Singh. It was an insightful presentation indeed. The next presenter for the day comes from Aurangabad, Maharashtra. She is a CA finalist and has presented papers at Coimbatore, Guwahati, and Vijayawada, where she was awarded as the best presenter and speaker. She is also interested in art and has won first position for drawing contest in Reliance Carnival. We'd like to call upon Ms. Saloni Mundada to present on taxation of virtual digital assets.
Thank you very much. I know listening to all the technical sessions since morning, you all are tired and you're having so much of information, facts, and there might be some confusion also. I welcome everyone to this very, very exciting topic, that is taxation of virtual digital asset. I'm going to clearly have a lot of taxation sections and what the regime has been imposed by budget 2022. So this is gonna really take a lot of mind space to have this knowledge. Area I'm seeing, there are so many questions that is coming around in a days, like what is cryptocurrency, bitcoins, what are digital assets. Now, I'm speaking about cryptocurrencies and bitcoins, so I hope that we will have a clarifying whole new regime around taxation of cryptos and digital asset. This slide, it throws a lot of key themes around crypto and other virtual digital asset. So the blockchain is the center of it. Some of these words you will hear all through the presentation. So let's go further with the background regarding this. So this is the most fundamental, as I said, a portion of how this will work, that is technologies, and the main important is cryptocurrency and the cryptography according to it, and the blockchain technology. So that's what the whole concept is, and what it replaces central authority with a code, a piece of code which everyone can rely on. This flow chart gives you an idea of typical transaction which will work on a blockchain technology. I will not go in detailing, as tomorrow you have the session on blockchain and the technology, how it works. So nowadays you can hear about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin and Ether, and so many recent token coins are also there in the market. There is like how they come up and how the mining is done. These all are the digital assets, and this flow chart is the life cycle. Now, stage 1. So, whoever is the originator will first come up with an idea or a concept, and then the whole blockchain is developed and the entire thing is coded with the blockchain technology, whether it is smart contract or anything else. Second stage. Now, the blockchain, when certain activities are performed, issues tokens, and that each blockchain will have a native token. Different tokens are pointed out at different times. So, those tokens could be either as a reward or maybe doing certain activities on the blockchain. Or this token can be issued in the form of initial token case. Now, stage 3. And then the actual game begins here. There could be a decentralized application, that is the smart contracts. It could be a currency application like Bitcoin, and the miners get into the action. And the final stage is here the validation comes, and these coins are traded at the marketplace. These are the various kind of assets. So this could be a payment token, open, which is a medium of exchange. Example is Bitcoin. There could be a utility token. So these tokens could be issued for various things. They give users access to future product or services. Then some security token. Example, there could be an underlying security against which tokens could be issued for fractional ownership. Last one, asset backed. These are token like that of typical are NFTs. It is non-fungible asset, and it is also examples like random paintings, artwork, or any gaming, etc. Now, very briefly, I'll explain the journey of cryptocurrency in India. So, in 2013 to 2017, the central bank was continued to issue the advisory that investors please don't invest in cryptocurrency. You all have heard this, that don't invest in cryptocurrency, it is not that gainful and all. Then in 2018, somewhere the central bank actually issued a decree asking banks not to allow companies who deal in crypto to bank with them. Then IMA challenged in the Supreme Court. In 2022, Supreme Court swashed and they said that this action of the central bank is disappropriate and this need not fulfill the needs of ARD, and asked the government to come out with the proper guidance and laws and regulations. So, as things stands today, there is such a utilization of cryptocurrencies and bitcoins, such restrictions based in India on crypto in any way. There is no illegality in the crypto business, and we believe that the government is in the process of clearing the regulation based on this digital assets. In 2021, there was active expectation that will be on the table in Parliament. That was being delayed by some of the reasons. And then finally, in 2022, you know what happened? The budget 2022 was released and there was a taxation of digital assets. The new regime was announced. Now, so that's been the journey so far. Big picture in India, we currently are in a bit of gray zone as the regulatory front between the tax-wise in the government and has led the extra steps towards this regime. So let's understand what is the across the globe and what is happening around the evolving sector. We are right at the nascent stage, and this is the ecosystem. It is yet to mature. So it is like all of us are in the same race. We will be thinking that foreign countries are ahead in this cryptocurrency and all. No, it is nothing like that. India is also in the same stage. We will have just examples of taxation of virtual digital assets in other countries. Both these countries, UK and United States, says that it is not a currency. They says that it is similar to the commodity or any asset and they tax according to that. Similarly, in Canada and Australia also, they consider is an commodity and asset and they tax according to their rules. Now, this was one buzzword during the budget speech that India is also going to introduce a central bank digital currency. Again, it took a talk about Indian rupee, that is Indian rupee digitalized rupee? This was a question around in the budget. But a few like Indian rupee, which is physical form, yes, because the value of it would be backed and would be stable, and there will be no readability to say that the demand and supply would dictate the value. Now finally, let's dive into the ocean of taxation of virtual asset. Now, let's talk about the definition. So I'll read out the definition. Any information or code or number or token generated through cryptographic means or otherwise by whatever name called, providing a digital representation of value exchange with or without consideration, with the promise or representation of having inherent value or functions or a store of value or a unit of account, including its use in any financial transaction or investment, but not limited to investment scheme, and can be transferred, stored or traded electronically. So there are 4 key points in this. That is, one is information, code number or token number. Second is generated through cryptographic or other means. Then it should be a representation of value unit, which is the third element. And the fourth and the most important is it is transferred, stored or traded at the marketplace. The next one is on NFTE. I told about asset token. So NFTs are effectively kind of digital asset or record or any underlying asset on service, and therefore a question that comes is, if NFT also a virtual asset, which is a digital asset or transferred or not. So one is transfer of NFT itself and second is transfer of virtual asset. So this could be an issue unless it is classified in future. Now let's see the taxability of transfer of virtual asset. This is a trigger on gains or income arising on transfer of virtual digital asset. This is directly taxable at a rate of 30%, which is a flat rate. Plus, of course, surcharge will be applicable, and says there is no deduction allowed for any expenditure other than cost of acquisition. So that's the first part, and then set off of losses arising on sale of virtual digital asset is not permissible against this other income. There is no carry forward or losses arising on the sale of virtual digital assets. Now, the gift provision. Under section 56, you will see the taxability of gift of virtual asset. So, which is basically that if you're receiving the gift in the form and receiving any property which has more than rupees 50,000 in the value, either at the zero rate or lower than the fair market value, then that delta is taxed in the hands of the recipient. So the amount you have to keep in mind is 50,000 of amount gift if you receive, then it is taxable. So here are 2 notwithstanding clauses within this session. So here the question arises, is that is notwithstanding anything lost or any losses if we have, are they set off? So the answer is not yet precisely given by the government, but so losses will not be mostly not carry forward or set off will be allowed. Withholding tax on transfer of virtual digital asset. That is, withholding means TDS. Now, so when 94S is a new provision for withholding, which again says that any person responsible for any paying consideration to Indian resident for transfer of virtual digital asset is required to withhold tax of 1%. And then it also goes on to clarifying that it is a VDA to VDA transaction or it is an exchange transaction. Then there are some limits which the individual has to keep in mind, that is 50,000 is the amount, and if the payer is the company, then 10,000 is the amount. Who is responsible for paying any consideration? Specifically, the question arises where a buyer is buying crypto from broker who executes the trade on which there is a seller who made the same. So here are 4 parties, that is broker, buyer, seller and the exchange. So hope we will get the clarification on this from government soon in next provisions. Future of virtual asset. So I would say that this is very early stages and days, and therefore do consideration anything that I have discussed is directional on the cases of the budgets and the government provision. Which can be refined in soon, and many clarification will come accordingly, and more thoughts are being put on the daily basis regarding cryptocurrencies and bitcoins. So I hope you have got the knowledge, and I enjoyed giving this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Saloni. That was a wonderful presentation. Now, I would like to call C.A. Chandrasekhar Chitale sir to put across his thoughts.
Good afternoon, everybody. Honorable Chairman, Pune Branch, Kashinath Pathare, Chairman Vikasa Mausmi, with me on desk, Pranav, Saloni, again, Pranav from paper writer, Virendra Singh, and the smart representative of Vikasa. You know, direct access is a dynamic field. From various facets of direct access, 3 aspects have been covered by these paper writers. And as it is said that as far as direct access is concerned, it is an ever-changing field. Therefore, you have to keep abreast with the recent developments that are happening every now and then. In fact, to discuss this, you require a lot of time. But architect for this particular conference is Mausmi. And I asked her, you have given me very limited time to discuss these aspects, so how should I explain them to the students? And he said that, okay, as far as this capturing dynamism is concerned, let me tell you one incident that occasioned in her life. You tell them to the students and they will understand why they have to capture the recent developments. मौसमी एक बार कैब लेके मुंबई गई थी और मुंबई में कैब के जो विंडशील्ड्स रहते हैं तो उसमें स्क्रीन लगाना परमिसिबल नहीं है, तो वो कैब के विंडशील्ड पे स्क्रीन लगे थे, तो पुलिस ने उनको पकड़ा और ड्राइवर को पूछा कि ये विंडस्क्रीन लगाए तो आपको पेनल्टी देना पड़ेगा। तो उसने बोला छोड़ दो साहब, क्या अभी मैं मौसमी मैडम को लेके आया हूँ, पूना जाना है वापस, हमें मत उलझन में फंसाओ। तो पुलिस ने बोला ठीक है, मुझे 500 रुपया दे दो और निकल जाओ। तो बोला ठीक है मगर साहब आप छोड़ देंगे, अगर आगे किसने पकड़ा तो क्या करेंगे? तो बोलेंगे ठीक है, आगे आप गोल्ड स्पॉट बोल दो तो कुछ नहीं होगा। तो फिर वो डील करते हैं, आगे निकलते हैं, तो आगे और एक पुलिस उनको रुकाता है और बोलता है ये स्क्रीन लगाया है तो आपको जुर्माना देना पड़ेगा। तो बोलता गोल्ड स्पॉट, तो बोलता ठीक है निकल जाओ। तो वो निकल जाता है। ऐसे वो वापस आते हैं, मगर 2 दिन बाद वो कैब वापस जाती है और फिर उसे वापस दूसरे कहीं और एक पुलिस पकड़ लेता है। तो उसे पता रहता है क्या करना है, क्या ट्रिक, तो वो पुलिस को बताता है गोल्ड स्पॉट। तो पुलिस बोलता है बाजू को लेना कार, बोलता है साहब क्या हुआ? वो बोला आज रिमझिम है। So ultimately, unless you capture the developments in law, I think you will meet with such consequences that are not expected at law, and it will meet with tax liability. As far as the topics selected by these paper writers for Pranav faceless assessment, in case of Virendra agricultural tax, whether it should be subjected to tax agricultural income, and in case of Saloni, the virtual digital asset, these are all topics of recent origin, and one is certainly required to understand them from practical perspective and also from theoretical perspective, because in case of examinations also, questions would be asked in these particular aspects. In case of faceless assessments, as you are aware, the technical and other part has been adequately covered by Pranav, and he has made very good presentation. My compliments to him. He has explained how this particular process works and how one has to react as a professional and discounting for the value of profession. Let me tell you, whatever practices he told about the corruption, etc., because of faceless assessment, they are set at rest. And that is vouched by the fact that I am heading Direct Taxation Committee. So whenever I meet high officials from Income Tax Department, they always tell me, sir, please tell Modi ji that you withdraw faceless assessment. But at Institute, we have discussed this particular aspect, and we were unanimously of the view that in case of faceless assessment, it is solely the knowledge, the experience, the expertise of a chartered accountant would be consumed, and not the extraneous abilities of liaison and such other malpractices. So ICI is steadfastly supporting this faceless assessment, and faceless assessment is here to stay, because as far as this income tax officer is concerned who is doing the assessment, essentially he does not know who you are, you also don't know who is the assessing officer, And one more rule is there that this particular assessing officer should be from a city not belonging to the assessee. So if the assessee is from Pune, the assessing officer will be from the Bangalore, Lucknow, Bhopal or such other place, not from Pune or not from the vicinity. So as far as the profession is concerned, whatever you study in examinations, you know where the comma is not there, how the interpretation changes, etc. So all those things would come handy. Of course, one more aspect that you will have to develop, that I found that all the three presenters were affluent in English language. So if you want to really master faceless assessment, besides being the knowledgeable as far as law is concerned, you also have to acquire that fluence in language, because ultimately your communication will convey what you want to state. So this is one another aspect that we will have to remember. In case of agricultural income tax, Virendra has advocated that yes, there should be agricultural income tax. In fact, that makes me recollect, in 2017, all the indirect taxes were merged and we had one nation, one tax, the GST, goods and services tax. So in a similar fashion, why should there not be one country, one tax, even in case of direct taxes? And he has rightly stated that if a person is earning, say, 10 lakh rupees agricultural income, 50 lakh rupees agricultural income, and a person drawing remuneration of 6 lakhs, a person drawing remuneration of 6 lakhs is subjected to taxation, and a person earning agricultural income of 50 lakh rupees, wearing gold rings in all the 5 fingers, he is not subject to tax. So that is injustice. So everybody should be put on a level paying ground, and therefore he advocated that yes, agricultural income tax should be there. Let me tell you that as a chairman of Direct Tax Committee, I had occasion to make presentation to pre-budget memorandum of ICAI only last month. And we have taken up this point in our pre-budget memorandum, that let there be one country, one tax, and bring agricultural income to subject to tax. It is not that agricultural income is not subject to tax. As you are aware, there are various sources of revenue, and under our constitution, these sources of revenue are bifurcated between central government, state government, local government. And in this bifurcation, if you read the entry relating to income tax, when it comes to central list, the entry reads income tax on income other than agricultural income. And in case of state list, it reads income tax on agricultural income. In the state of Maharashtra, maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago, there was agricultural income tax. And it was at 30% if the income exceeds 35,000 at that time. So in state assembly, a discussion was going on. The state government was starved of funds. So they said that how to collect sales tax, how to collect stamp duty, these were the subjects of taxation by state government. And then somebody told that, okay, agricultural income tax is there, so how many people are paying agricultural income tax? And the answer was given, in the whole state of Maharashtra, only 18% are paying agricultural income tax. So there was a heated debate. And the MLA said that, no, this is not correct. Those who are liable to pay tax, not paying tax, we will put them behind the bars. They should be jailed and the recovery should be made. But then after some time, they realized all those persons having good agricultural income and not paying tax are sitting in the legislative assembly. So what the decision was taken by Maharashtra state government to abolish agricultural income tax. So that is what Hitler says. What is democracy? Democracy is autocracy of plurality. So because more agriculturalists were sitting there, they abolished agricultural income tax when it was not recovered. But now the time has come, again we rethink, maybe we amend the constitution and bring back the agricultural income tax. We are not saying that for marginal farmers earning 10,000, earning 50,000, you subject them to tax. Maybe those who are earning 5 lakh, 10 lakh, let them pay tax. So Virendra's paper also adequately dealt with various aspects of this agricultural income tax. Saloni talked well on taxation of virtual digital asset. As we are aware, whenever we talk of virtual digital asset, we equate it with cryptocurrency, bitcoins and so on. But virtual digital asset, the concept is beyond this currency. Currency is a dominant part of it. But other assets are also there in virtual digital assets. Now, from her presentation, you must have realized that the law is very harsh on taxation of virtual digital asset, because today the major gains spring from cryptocurrency and such other assets. The reason why the law is harsh is behind cryptocurrency, there is no ownership. One does not know if, supposing I have, say, 1,000 bitcoins and I want to exchange them in rupees, whose door I should knock so that I will get rupee value of those VDS. There are various malpractices in virtual digital this currency, cryptocurrencies, and also it is believed that maybe for the purpose of illegal objects, the funds are being transferred through this cryptocurrency. For this reason, the government wants to really ban the cryptocurrency. But then, by the time year 2022 arose, there were substantial number of investors from India, from other places into this cryptocurrency. And had there been declaration that virtual currency is illegal, there would have been much uproar in capital market. So rather than declaring it as illegal, what RBI has stated that as far as this cryptocurrency is concerned, it's not that we treat it as illegal, but we do not want to encourage this particular currency. And to all banks which are subject to RBI, they have stated, please do not deal in this virtual currency. One another way, for the purpose of investors to keep them away from this cryptocurrency, is to create harsh provisions for taxation. And that is how these harsh provisions are created. So as far as taxes are concerned, they also play an economic role. Whatever is desirable, they try to encourage by lowering the tax rates, and whatever is not desirable, they tax it very heavily. So since cryptocurrency, which is the dominant virtual digital asset, is not desirable from investors' point of view, from common people staying in India, from their perspective, from governmental perspective, this particular harsh taxation has come. In fact, you must have read that the Tesla, which had heavily invested into this cryptocurrency, the owner of Tesla was the richest person, but then because this value of cryptocurrency plummeted, he also lost his position of being the richest person. Tesla shares also lost its value, and it's highly volatile, and therefore the taxation is very heavy as far as virtual digital assets are concerned, and Saloni has adequately dealt with it. Friends, we have with us the seasoned examiner for the papers. We received 100 plus papers for various subjects for direct taxes. And CA Shekhar Sane, who has given at least 10,000 lectures on direct taxes, he was the examiner. While we were having lunch, he said that the quality of majority of the papers was not up to the mark. And he requested me that you convey this feeling to the students, not with a view to undermine your efforts, but with a view that there is a good scope for the purpose of improvement. What he observed is, in most of the papers, supposing that if the paper, say for example, the subject is tax deduction at source, then from 190, or say tax deduction at source from salary, the entire section 192 is copied and pasted, and that is the paper. He said that is not expected of a student. Maybe you use some of the principles from section 192, but try to explain, try to interpret, and then let the reader understand what is meant by TDS under section 192. So he was focusing more on interpretation. And he said that as far as I am concerned, I will not be able to explain you this particular aspect appropriately, because he being expert and prolific speaker, having delivered 10,000 lectures. Let me tell you one anecdote. You tell that anecdote to the students, so they will understand what is meant by interpretation. He said that there was a beautiful lake, and one professor was sitting on the bank of that lake, and he was reading a book. A beautiful girl appeared on the scene. Being a professor, he continued reading the book. And there was one poster alongside the lake. It said that swimming is prohibited. Then The girl started undressing. The professor ignored her. And when she was about to dive in the lake, she said, shh, shh. The girl saw here and there, and he noticed that this professor wearing a cap is sitting there. So she asked, yes, why? What is the problem? Then he pointed out at the poster, which read, swimming is prohibited. So the girl was annoyed, and she said, sir, when you know the swimming, that poster is there, why you did not tell me before when I was undressing? The professor answered, madam, swimming is prohibited, undressing is not. So ultimately, this is what he said is meant by interpretation. Everything in law is interpreted with microscopic view, and therefore, as a chartered accountant, we have to be attuned to this particular phenomena of interpreting the law and not merely reading it. Because clients come to you, if you are employed in a company, the bosses expect that you not only read the law, not only understand it, but also guide the company in a manner that the company is exposed to the least possible tax. And I'm sure this particular conference would be a step in that direction. And I really believe that the presentations made by these three brilliant students, in fact, I asked Pranav that whether they are CA students or they have already become chartered accountants. And he said that no, today they are students. In next May 2023 examination, they will be chartered accountants. So I was very happy. And after listening to their speeches, I think you should have more confidence and you should go home with a feeling, सरफरोशी की तमन्ना अब हमारे दिल में है, देखना है जोर कितना बाजुओं का तिल में है. Thank you.
Thanks to you, sir. Now we understand the importance of keeping yourself updated, communicating well, and most importantly, the art of interpretation. So yeah, now we call upon CA Pranav Apte, sir, to felicitate CA Chandrasekhar Chitre, sir. I'd like to call upon Mr. Prithviraj Swami to felicitate the paper presenters. I'd request Mr. Yash Kandare to propose the word of thanks.
It is my privilege to be here with all the dignitaries and presenters on the dais. I would like to take this opportunity to specially thank Chandrasekhar Chitre sir and all the presenters for their captivating speech. I would first mention the words said by the missile man of our India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, based on whom our conference is being headed. We are all born with a divine fire in us, but it is us who have to put the efforts to give wings to this fire. I hope that all the precious pearls which were embedded by Chitre sir and all the guidance given by our paper presenters will help all our future colleagues to accelerate in the future growth. On this note, I would like to wish everyone a good learning experience, and I am very thankful and grateful for everyone present on the dais and off the dais. Thank you very much.
Thank Thank you, Mr. Yash. So, it's time to conclude the session by quoting, "Learn from yesterday, leave for today, and hope for tomorrow." But the most important is not stop questioning. Thank you, everyone.